So you're selling your home. You just got that amazing price you wanted, and suddenly a buyer hits you with a big old request for repairs. What are you required to do, and what are you not, and how should you handle it? All that and more on this video. Hello everyone, my name is Cameron Stevens, the entertainment industry's real estate agent and the owner of Stevens Real Estate, a real estate experience tailored to the creative client. Today I want to talk about request for repairs from the seller's point of view. So, you just got multiple offers, you got a price that you're over the moon about, and then the buyer goes through their inspection process. Now this is a tough process for both sides because the buyer's so excited about the home, but man, that inspection turned up a lot of little things in it. And for the seller, you're thinking, well, hey, I took great care of the house. Maybe it's a little old, but this is normal. And plus, everything looked fine when I lived in it. It worked fine. Why are you asking me for so much money? This is a crucial junction for negotiation, and it happens every time. So step one for sellers is this: prepare for it to happen. Unless a buyer has waived inspections, which is unlikely, or possibly waived their right to request repairs, most buyers are going to ask for something. And look, could you blame them? They're paying top dollar in the most expensive home market in history. They might legitimately want to fix some things, but they might also just want a win, something to make them feel better for all the turmoil that they've likely gone through to get to this point. But let's get one thing straight. You as a seller, you're not required to do anything. Every house is explicitly stated in the purchase contract as being sold as is, no matter what is dug up in the inspections. And furthermore, you as a seller are not actually even required to respond to any requests for repairs that you receive. Now, you probably should, but you don't have to at all. Before we get into what we should do with a request for repairs, one thing worth noting is that though a buyer can request to have a seller do a repair, whether that's do it themselves or through a company, we never agree to those requests. We always give a buyer a credit because a credit acts as cash in hand to a buyer. They get to do the repair on their own timeline, to their satisfaction, and with the company they choose. That absolves you of any issues regarding a repair whatsoever. And trust me, you do not want to get into a situation where a buyer asks you to do something and then you do it to your satisfaction, but then they say it isn't done to their satisfaction, and you bicker and you fight and you generally cause more headaches for everyone than just giving them an agreed upon dollar amount, being done with it. Okay, so the first thing that we as a listing agent and seller team need to do is get a copy of all those reports that a buyer is making their request for repairs based off of, so we can thoroughly understand what they received during their inspections. Now, I will be there in person for the actual inspections to hear everything as it happens, but we always want to make sure we have those reports in hand. When you get a report as a seller, it can oftentimes make people feel defensive. So try your best not to. Any decent agent, and we will always choose a decent agent to work with, is going to hire a licensed professional that has at least a good amount of training. Now, you might not agree with what they say, and of course, inspectors are human. They sometimes make mistakes, or they might make incorrect assumptions. But if it's a reputable company and a reputable inspector, we have to at least understand that the buyer takes everything that's written in those reports at face value. It should go without saying that no credits will be given without reports. And furthermore, if not provided, we will get an exact breakdown of how they got to the number that they are requesting. For example, if a buyer requests $3,250, we want to know that $1,500 is for termite work, $500 is for a broken pipe, $700 is for cracked tile, $300 is for fixing some outlets, and $250 is for a new sprinkler terminal that just doesn't work. Now, at this point, if there's anything that they're requesting a credit for that you know for absolute certain does work, we can work together to demonstrate that and therefore let all parties know that no, we won't be offering money for that. Otherwise, we need to decide exactly what we may be willing to pay for and what we will not. And this is a discussion that we will have, but there are things worth weighing in how reasonable the request is overall versus how much actually came back on the inspection reports. We have to think about what the price was of any other offers we might have received. We need to consider if the appraisal has come back already or not. And, we should think about if the request for repairs were for the buyer's preferred upgrades or for health and safety issues. In general, a reasonable request is regarding one that impacts the use of certain items that should function in the house, or if something causes health and safety issues. An unreasonable request is something that a buyer might like to have, but it's unique to them and won't necessarily be requested by other potential buyers. Remember, you don't have to give a credit to a buyer for anything. However, if you do come to an agreement on a credit amount, the buyer is then required to remove their inspection contingency. And that's the biggest, most general, biggest protector contingency that a buyer has. So it is a big hurdle to get through. And then they can't come back asking for more money for any kind of repairs or anything else that they discover after that point. So therefore, oftentimes a seller will choose which items to pay for with a credit, and then they'll counter with a different credit number than they receive from the buyers. And this can go back and forth until a number is ultimately agreed upon. If the buyer never comes to a number they're happy with, well, they can exercise their inspection contingency and back out of the sale. But if the buyer is getting close to their inspection contingency date and the negotiation for repairs isn't going so well, the seller can submit a notice to perform, which means the buyer has 2 days after submitting that to either remove their contingency or cancel the sale. And if they don't do either of these, well, they're in breach of contract and the seller can cancel on them and go back to the market. My philosophy is this: if you've got an excited buyer on the hook that paid top dollar for your home, and they're making a reasonable request for health and safety items or things that just aren't functioning like they really should, then taking a decent request for repair credit so that you can move forward with the sale is usually the right call. But not always, and that number can vary depending on a bunch of other factors like the final sale price and how long the property has been on the market. Remember, if you choose to cancel on a buyer or you hold fast to a credit and they back out, you do have to go back on the market. And other buyers that submitted an offer, well, they might have found a new home to purchase. They might no longer be interested, or they might just get spooked that you fell out of escrow, or even worse, they think they can play you for even more of a discount. But if you did receive a significant amount of offers and the request for repairs is just simply unreasonable, then it might be better to go ahead and take that risk. Speaking of unreasonable requests for repairs, that's something that can happen, and it's called a clawback. Now, we try to mitigate this as much as possible by choosing a great agent to enter escrow with, to scrutinize the buyer and their financials, and then verbally making it clear that this is something we will not tolerate. But still, it does happen. A clawback is when a buyer submits a really high initial offer, sometimes quite a bit higher than the others, that they don't actually have the intention of paying that number. They think they can just get the property under contract, and then when they have increased bargaining power, they submit a huge request for repairs and they try to get a bunch of money back. Although it can be easy to react to this emotionally, this is why we know the contracts extremely well. We know what our rights are, what are the cancellation procedures, and we react accordingly. We can put the property back on the market, we can do more open houses, we can even fully open escrow with a new buyer while this clawback buyer is trying to tie up the house. Technically, we can't close with a new buyer until the old buyer cancels, and cancellation must be mutual, i.e. both parties have to agree to it in writing, but one party cannot unreasonably withhold cancellation from the other, and certainly cannot do so if they're in breach of contract, or they'll be risking losing their deposit. Okay, there you have it. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you learned something about handling a request for repairs as a seller. At Stevens Real Estate, we specialize in working with creative professionals, entrepreneurs, and especially people in the entertainment industry, because I spent 7 years of my life working in animation and visual effects. That is why I designed Stevens Real Estate to be tailored to the creative client. I also designed a few value-adding programs for both buyers and sellers that really no one else is offering. For buyers, we put together a full marketing plan that paints you as the right buyer for your dream home. We can help recommend local lenders that will fit your financing situation, even if you are freelance. And don't worry about the inspections. We've got you covered. They're free, all of them, no questions asked. And if you're looking to sell your home, we offer the ability to remodel now and only pay when you sell, with 0 fees, no interest, and no upfront costs. Plus, we pay for all of the aspects of digital marketing like photography, drone footage, videography, 3D walkthrough, virtual open houses, social media campaign, custom website, targeted emails, and more. So if you like my energy and my personality and you think my expertise and the programs that I offer would be of benefit to you, please don't hesitate to reach out. And additionally, if you know someone that would benefit from connecting with me, I would absolutely love an introduction. Thanks again for watching, and at the end of this video, there will be a QR code that you can scan. It'll take you directly to my website, or there will be a link down there somewhere that you can click to learn more.
Weather get hot.